stay conservative, run the ball here on third down.
Here's Richardson. He takes it in for his first NFL touchdown. And Pittman takes it inside the 20, the 10, towards the end zone. Touchdown on 2nd and 28. The Colts capitalize. Richardson to Pittman, 39 yards.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy DeMarco here. Got my guy Trev with me.
What's up, man?
As we all know, the offseason is here. It's a bit slow and whatnot. I'm going to get everything shared around. Hopefully, everybody's been having a great day, great weekend so far. As me and Trev was just discussing, it's going by real fast. But hopefully, everybody's having a good one, man. How you doing tonight, Trev?
Doing good, man. Just chilling. I see we already got Chad. Hey, it's about time Chad's the first comment, man. I feel like he's been a little inconsistent lately, Chad. So I'm glad that you're on there early, bro. Good to see you.
Yeah.
See you in there, man.
Good to have you back, Trev. Chad.
I know since the last time we went live, if you guys are up there in Indiana, there was a all-timer for the Indy 500. Really good race that happened last Sunday. So hopefully, if you're a racing fan, you got to watch it, man. The last couple laps were really exciting, really cool to watch. So hopefully, y'all enjoyed that. Hey, Chad, I completely understand, bro. My work's crazy too, man. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah,
like that's all of us lately, bro. We all just getting worked to the bone, man.
Man,
just across the board. I know our other co-host, Zach, he just got off work as we were starting up, so he may or may not be able to hop in. Matt's been working, Damon's been working. Ain't nobody catch a break, bro. But we're here.
Yeah, man, I'm currently on call right now, so
at any moment.
We just kind of getting it as we go. But switching over to some more Colts topics, man. As everybody probably knows or should know, OTAs just came to an end, and big names that I heard about is that AD Mitchell has been going crazy at camp. AR has looked good. Doesn't even look like he had offseason shoulder surgery, which is great. Defense has been making some plays out there. Jelani Woods has looked great, according to everybody who's been out there watching, and he's been making some big-time plays. So, yeah, man.
Man, specifically with Richardson, too, not only is this guy a freak athlete, but, by all accounts, the way he recovers, he's recovered and really gotten back to form. So, obviously we haven't seen it in game yet, but just camp reports and how he looks throwing the ball and everything, this dude's like Wolverine. He just gets hurt, just shakes it off, gets right back.
I'd give anything to be young again.
He's one of the first players we have that I can look at and be like, man, I remember what it was like to be that young. First time I'm actually older than a player, but
just 22 years old, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy. And
good. Actually, now the fact that you say that, you're gonna have to get used to it because now you're past that age.
Yeah, I'm
it's gonna be just like for me. It's like now when I start looking at or looking at players and stuff, I would think about everybody being older than me, and now I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, damn, you a baby.
Where the time goes, yeah.
Man, the time.
I had that. I had that realization on my last birthday last year. I turned 24, and I was like, damn. If I was an athlete, I wouldn't even draft me anymore because of 24. The guys that go into the draft 24 years old, so it's like, man, he's old. You don't want to take him.
Don't say that. Latu is 24.
Well, he'll be the exception. What's up, Nathan? Nathan says, I'm calling it this season. AR wins comeback player of the year and MVP. I'm calling it 3,000 passing yards, 50 touchdowns combined. Hey, that'd be a hell of a season to watch, man. I'm all for it.
I want to say, where is it at? Hold on. Let me find it real quick because I want to say PFF actually just put out the over-under on Anthony Richardson's pass yards.
I got him sitting there.
In here, I believe it was about 3,200.
Yeah, that feels fair too, especially with how much we expect him to run the ball. I think right around 32. I'd put him a little over. I think he's capable of getting 3,400 passing yards. especially with the wide receiver group that we expect to have.
So you're saying that bet is easy money? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't want to say easy money because who knows, he misses a game or two, whatever may happen. But it fully healthy, yeah, I think he can definitely surpass that. What's up, Chris? Welcome to the show, man. Good to have you here, bro. But yeah, that'd be a crazy year, man. Come back, player of the year, MVP, 50 touchdowns. Yeah,
I like where your head is at.
I like it.
I like where your head is at.
Like 35 passing, 15 rushing. That'd be insane.
Yeah, that's a lot there, man. I like where your head is at, but I think the 3,000 yards, I think that's totally attainable. As far as the 50 touchdowns, man, that's some MVP caliber type stuff. So I don't want to put that much on Anthony Richardson's shoulders, but yeah, I think he can definitely get close to those numbers.
He's gonna make some noise.
It is right here. So it was 3,200.5. The over under is at -110. So
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair spot to call it because he should be hovering right around there. I think as far as touchdowns go, I think you'll have probably low 20s in the passing game, and then anywhere from like 8 to 10 rushing, as long as he's healthy. So I would place a bet that he as long as he's fully healthy, he could be right around 30 touchdowns this year. I think that's definitely attainable for him.
Yeah. If I had to put numbers on it, I'd probably go I'd say about 23 passing touchdowns, probably about 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns. I'd probably put him at about 9, 10 interceptions.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably put him at 3,400 passing yards. I think that's what my mind would be
fair. Zach, yeah, he just commented 3,000 passing, 27 touchdowns, 11 picks, 1,000 yards rushing, and 8 touchdowns. Also pretty fair. Like fully healthy, I think he hovers right around there. And to me, that'd be a very encouraging and very productive season for AR. And then you got to think he's only going to get better from there too. So really, as long as he can just show that dual threat, get a lot of air yards, obviously, but be a ground threat without having to worry about contact and worry about getting hurt and shit like that, man, he's going to be a weapon that the rest of the league has to plan for. So it's going to be cool to watch, man. Just hope the guy stays healthy.
Yeah, man. I think all of us have about the same numbers of where we think he could be, how he's going to be out there, what he can do, basically his capabilities and everything, and pretty much just staying healthy and whole is the possibilities are endless. And then we added a lot. We added a couple of receivers, added a lot of speed and explosiveness. We're going to have a fully healthy JT and Anthony Richardson.
Even more depth on the O-line.
Yeah. So we're gonna have everything ready and prepared for Anthony Richardson to come out and be able to do exactly what he needs to do. Just as Chris is saying here, AR is gonna have a crazy year. He just needs to be safe out there. So as long as he protects himself. Obviously, you got to remember, when he did get hurt, obviously it was a regular football play, but I think that's something that he's starting to learn is it's not college to where you think you can outrun everybody. So as much as we hate to see that, it's kind of a lesson for him to learn. All right, look, these defensive ends is out here. They can chase me down. Let me just throw the ball away, or let me just get down sooner. Don't let anybody
start making those. Yeah, those smart quarterback plays. We all know you can tuck it and run and probably truck over a lot of people, but we don't need you to. If the situation doesn't call for it, or if it's a guy around your size, go ahead and get down, get out of bounds, do what you got to do. I remember when we had Andrew Luck, that was something that was really hard for him to learn how to do because he felt like it wasn't football if he wasn't, dropping his shoulder and trying to be. And you respect that mentality, but we got to look at longevity, right? And obviously, we don't want Richardson to have as short of a career as Luck unfortunately did. So you got to start those things now while you're young and start minimizing the amount of big hits you take and guys falling on you. Just all that shit adds up over time. So if he can start making those smart plays now, he'll be set for a long time down the road.
Yeah, man, most definitely. I remember specifically when Andrew Luck came back, one of those years that you were talking about. I remember it was 2018, and Frank Wright had said he saw him running up, and there was pretty much like a couple yards between him and the end
Yeah.
zone. And he was like, I would have ran out onto the field and tackled him myself if he would have tried to make that play and score a touchdown. So that's pretty much where you got to think about it. It's like you got a chance to, get it down there to the goal line. It's whether to go all in or be safe. If it's not a win now play, then we don't need you to go ahead and try and do that. We got there. Be safe to play another down. So
that's so much easier said than done too, because anyone that's played any kind of level of sport, you go out there, you're not thinking about, man, let me preserve myself or whatever. Like, you just want to beat the guy in front of you and go do what you got to do. So it's definitely not easy to gauge. It's easier said than done, but hopefully he can start implementing that in his game so we can enjoy him for the next, decade plus.
Yeah, just like Chris is saying here, he said Luck was reckless, but was such a beast. I didn't even really think about all the stuff that quarterbacks and stuff would do to their body until the whole situation with Andrew Luck. It was more so just like, you kind of think of players just kind of indestructible. Obviously, some people get hurt and you think about those type of injuries, but you don't really necessarily think about the lacerated kidneys that Andrew Luck had and stuff like that. They're like, you start to learn those things and you're like, yeah, bro, just get out of the way there. So you start kind of learning. But anyways, just since we're on the topic of Anthony Richardson, just the words that I've heard from Jeffrey Gorman, Matt Taylor, Larry Overton, JJ Stankovitz, all those guys, some of the other people at practice and interviews and stuff, are basically saying that Anthony Richardson doesn't even look like he had the shoulder surgery and the injury and whatnot. And then he also just seems to he's commanding everybody. He doesn't seem like the second year quarterback. What have your thoughts been on anything that you've probably seen from Cam? Some of the deep ball throws, some of what he's been doing, some of his energy out there. Anything that you've heard? What are your thoughts on Anthony Richardson right now, and then coming back and going into the year two?
Man, first of all, just anytime you have anything happen to the shoulder, you would kind of expect, I don't know, just maybe a little bit of a wobble in the pass, or a little bit like not so much of a deep ball, or working his way up to it. And I'm sure he has, without cameras around. But just what we're seeing now out of camp, this guy lets it fly. He lets it rip. It's a tight spiral every time. There's no duck in the ball. You know what I mean? Like, he's just shredding it. Looks like, as you said, like he never even got hurt. And then I love hearing the reports about him just taking charge, no fear, no anxiety or worries about, like, this is his team and he knows it, or at least he seems to display that confidence. So that's really encouraging to see. And, the rest of the roster is going to respond to that and going to follow that leadership and be excited in their own right.
Yeah, man. As for me, I never really felt too much worried from it. I mean, obviously, my biggest concern was after the surgery, how is the shoulder going to be? How is that going to feel? And then when is he going to be able to get right? So it was never really the biggest concern to me as far as after him getting healthy and coming back out to play. I felt like once everything was fine, you kind of knew what you were going to get. Now, what I do like is the fact that everybody has been talking about how much of a leader he's grown, and then him being able to see, it's kind of like that. The thing that you hear from most players is when you have football taken away from you, it just makes you appreciate it that much more. It makes you want to, learn to be on the field and be healthy and be prepared and be ready for you guys that much more. Some similar situation for Latu with the neck that we just drafted, and then Jelani Woods being out all year. So as for me, it's just I just like what we're putting together right now. You see some of the big plays, the deep ball that he can throw. Obviously his ability to move, but I think just how much people underrate him or underestimate him as a passer, and just what we can be capable of this year, I think is going to be far beyond most expectations.
And it's interesting you say that too. As we look across the roster and the guys that are kind of going off at camp right now, Richardson's not the only one that had football kind of taken away from him against his will. We look at Jelani Woods out there making plays, Ashton Doolin out there making plays. Jonathan Taylor looks like he's fully healthy going into the season, which is scary for the league. Like, we have multiple guys that have had difficulties, had setbacks, all kinds of shit where they're not where they want to be, and now they have something to prove, something going into the season fully healthy, full steam ahead, ready to go. you get all those guys together on the same offense, it's going to be crazy to see, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. That brings us to another guy that I wanted to get into, man. This kid, AD Mitchell, man. I mean, it's like I'm starting to love this kid so much, and just seeing what he's been able to do. I mean, from rookie minicamp to now, he seems like a guy that Anthony Richardson might depend on a lot. This might be a bigger year than we're actually expecting out of most rookies, man. I mean, just looking at what I've heard and what I've seen, even from Michael Pittman Jr., bumping knees with the DB and him being out the other day, Anthony Richardson's been going to AD Mitchell a lot. And I mean, this kid is explosive. He has great hands.
Really?
I know I was all in on Brian Thomas Jr. He was my number 4 receiver, but I did have AD Mitchell right behind him as my number 5. And this kid is just, from what I've seen, obviously watching tape, just seeing him in camp, like, I think this is going to be a huge difference maker for us. This gives us a different type of receiver. And the fact that Anthony Richardson has been going to him a lot, and from what I've heard, like, a lot of these guys are just looking really good, man. So what would you say, what you've seen or heard, how are you feeling about that, about AD Mitchell, and what would you say your expectations for his stats would be coming up in this rookie season?
Man, I mean, I agree with everything you said about maybe we've set the bar a little low with this guy. I mean, obviously we haven't even seen him in game yet, so I don't want to get ahead of myself.
He's a rookie,
yeah,
so that's
I don't want to get ahead of myself. But with what we're seeing, this guy is just shredding everyone in camp. He's going in with a chip on his shoulder. It's just becoming more clear day by day that there's no way this guy should have ever fell to us in the second round, and yet he did. So now we're just going to take our ball and run with it. You know what I mean? As far as expectations, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to a little bit. This could realistically be one of those rookie seasons that we look at like a guy like Jamar Chase that just went crazy his rookie season, a guy that he realistically could have offensive rookie of the year numbers. I would not be shocked for him to put up 1,000 yards and 9 or 10 touchdowns. I'm not going to put that as the bar for him. Like, I'm not going to be disappointed if he doesn't get that. If he comes out and has, 600 yards, 6 touchdowns, I'm going to say, hey, he's building on this and we're still good to go. But the more I see of him out of camp, the more I do believe that might not be so far-fetched. You know what I mean? That might not be just crazy fan bias expectations. That might be, this guy's capable of shit like that. So I put him up there potentially. He might be able to do something like that.
Yo, what up, Josh? Yeah, man. I think that I would say, man, just thinking about where he would be, it's tough to say right now because I still got some hope in Alec Pierce. There's only one football to go around. Yeah. It's just tough to see what all of our expectations could be, because if you think about this offense and how explosive it can be, who knows how many touches guys might actually get? Who knows how many yards they might actually get? Who knows how it might circulate and go around to everybody? But I think this guy could easily have 700-800 yards and just be a red zone monster, depending on how we're running down there. Like I said, I think Anthony Richardson would have about eight rushing touchdowns. So I don't know how many times we're going to be throwing the ball in the red zone. But I see a lot of touches for JT and Anthony Richardson down there in the red zone. And then I also see I kind of see a breakout year for Michael Pittman Jr. as far as touchdowns go wise. And then, again, for AD Mitchell. And then I think we can finally unlock Alec Pierce on the deep ball as well. So I'd say probably about 700-800 yards and give him close to about 6 to 7 touchdowns. I think would be pretty crazy. And I'm not even counting the playoffs. So I think that could be pretty crazy for us.
It's going to be interesting, too, with how many weapons we have. And you got to think our identity is still a run-first offense, handing it off to Jonathan Taylor and letting Anthony Richardson do the RPO stuff that he does. All those things considered, we still might have some insane numbers across the board receiving, just because not only do we have all these great talents in Pittman, Downs, and AD Mitchell, but now they all get to play off of each other too. Like, we saw a stellar campaign out of Michael Pittman last year, and really he was like the main guy and sometimes the only guy getting any targets. And then we saw games like Atlanta when he wasn't there, we didn't pass the ball around at all. So now that's not even an issue for us. Now Pittman might have an even better year because he's even more open because he's not the only target. You know what I mean? And then AD is going to get more looks because they have to deal with Pittman. Downs is going to get more looks because they have to deal with those two. Like, it's the more weapons we have, it's good for everyone. And even if their numbers are a little bit less than if they were the main guy, like if he has 800 yards as opposed to 1,000 yards, that's not an issue to me as long as it's all being used efficiently and it's an explosive offense. That's perfect.
I mean, that's still a lot for a rookie. I mean, like most rookies don't come in and
I know. I'm just saying with those high expectations, I'm starting to give myself.
Yeah, no, I think my expectations more so the offense as a whole, not necessarily a player.
Individual.
The only individual player that I think will have outstanding offensive numbers, or I guess I should say two, would be Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr. Those are the two that I think individually are going to start looking like wow.
Player of the year campaigns.
Yeah. So those are the two that I think would be there. But also, I'm not sleeping on. I think Josh Downs going to have a very explosive year because he had 700 yards as a rookie and he only had 2 touchdowns. So it's going to be a big thing for him.
He feels like the sneaky guy that people are forgetting that he was very good last year. Looked like a superstar in some games.
Very good.
He's not getting any worse. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an exciting offense to watch, man. It's only going to get better.
Josh Downs is one of the most slept on guys. It's insane how slept on he is.
They didn't make any noise about him as a rookie, except for us.
Exactly. So he didn't get talked about much of, or pretty much any at all, which is good. So can't wait to see how this offense is going to go. Josh Ayers commented and said he has a ceiling at 780 receiving yards. That's not bad at all. We're going to get into some battles here in just a bit, but I do want to I know we're obviously there's two sides of the ball, or actually 3, I should say. We'll talk about one a little bit there just because of a player over there. But Zach jumped in here. He says he's talking about expectations. Is it possible to think that Latu could tie or break Freeney's rookie sack numbers records with tackle for losses of with sack numbers and tackle of loss numbers, 30 sacks, 20 tackles for losses, and 9 forced fumbles? Only reason I ask because Colts defensive front is loaded. He's in a special situation where all he has to do is show up and ball, just play freely and ball. So I'll jump on this one here. I do not think the sack number is attainable personally. I don't even know if the 20 tackles for loss is attainable either, but I know for sure the sack numbers won't be attainable just because of the way that we rotate. Yeah. If there's any way possible that he were to reach that sack number, I'm not even going to speak it out loud, but everybody knows what I mean by that. Like, there's a lot of people in this defensive line. If somebody was out, that would be a way for him to kind of be the guy to be starting consistently. So I don't think sack numbers is attainable just based off how we play. Now, being as it said, I think he could come in and have a great rookie season as well. I would have him penciled in probably about 8 or 9 sacks myself personally. But I just think the numbers that to put up those numbers, that would be absolutely insanity to get from what did we have? We had 51 sacks last year, or was it 54?
Give or take. I don't remember the exact, but it was in the 50s.
In the 50 plus sacks, and you have a rookie come in and give you 13. That would just be crazy. Absolute insanity. Like it wouldn't be fair for the future to think about what we would have there. So me personally, I don't think that those numbers are attainable, but I think it's very attainable for him to play freely and ball and have a really good rookie season.
Yeah, I kind of echo that. I don't see him getting 13 sacks, but it's not because of a lack of talent. If we were a team that didn't rotate and he was just free to go, 3-down guy, 4-down guy, didn't rotate it out hardly at all and stayed healthy all year, then he's got the kind of talent where he might sneak up on that. But even with that setup as a rookie, 13 sacks is a lot to ask for, right? There was only a handful of guys across the league last year that even got more than, I want to say 12 or 13 or 14. And those guys are all getting paid like max money. So it's harder these days for whatever reason to get to those sack numbers as an individual. But kind of like DeMarco was saying, it's more about his impact on the line and on those rotations. As far as numbers go, I see him getting about 7.5 8 sacks would be a huge rookie campaign for me. And then I expect him to develop into the player that can average around 12, 13 sacks a year as long as he's healthy. But this year, I just don't see it yet.
And your boy Jay Hardy 8 on Instagram says, "Yo, what's up, Trev?"
What's up, Jake? That's my boy, man. He does a lot of work for ESPN. Really good stuff, man.
But yeah, so yeah, Zach, I think that'd be some lofty expectation numbers there. I mean, I'm not even saying he can't do it. Like if we didn't already have an edge there, like if edge was a need for us and we got him, and then boom, put him on the field, I think he totally could get those numbers.
Yeah.
I just think the fact that way that we rotate, I see him more as a closer, and seeing him be able to finish out some games. I don't think that he'll play enough on every down to be able to make all those numbers happen.
Yeah, you look for him to come in probably 3rd and 4th down situations, maybe sometimes on first as well, but he's not going to be a regular for. I mean, none of the guys we have are. Samson Ebickham is probably our best edge rusher right now, and he's not playing every single down. He's rotating out as well. So it's just the style that we play in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got a lot of guys there. Anybody else that you want to highlight or speak on in camp or anything that you heard about as far as on the defensive side of the ball? Because we got a bunch of guys out there making plays, and just some guys that are really ready to go out and prove themselves. Obviously, our cornerback room, which is young, Jalen Jones, Juju Brent's out there. Haven't heard too much about free safety outside of Daniel Scott. But yeah, anybody on defense that you want to?
Yeah, defensively, especially in that secondary room, it's kind of just like who's going to take this job and run with it. You know what I mean? We have our kind of penciled in rather starters at cornerback with Jones and Juju Brents, but anything's up for grabs back there, especially with how young it is. Blackman's the only secure starter, I think. So it's encouraging to see the good stuff about Daniel Scott because, as we know, we do not have enough safeties performing. So if he's a guy that can step up and take that job, I'm all for it. And as far as the linebacker core, what I've talked about before, but this guy Grant Stewart, he's been a special teams weapon for us for a couple of years. I'd love to see him start to work his way into the rotation as a regular guy getting defensive snaps as well. So that's a guy I want to keep an eye out for as we go into the preseason and everything.
No doubt. The player that I wanted to shout out on defense that I've been hearing a lot about is Jay Carlisle, man. Jalen Carlisle, man. I was telling you guys, man, not my other Jalen. I know I was high on him, but the fact that this guy's coming in and moving from safety down to linebacker, which is where some of our struggles, coverage linebacker has been there. He's already picked off Joe Flacco. I want to say also shout out to Daniel Scott. He got an interception off AR as well. So those are two guys. I know that the Chris Ballard has been really high on Daniel Scott. So we'll see how that goes. But shout out to them young guys going out there and making some plays. And then Juju. I've been here. Juju's been up there, competing and going out there and battling, and everybody's trying to make a name for themselves, and everybody's battling. Another one was that Bernard Reitman was talking about some of his battles that he's been having with Latu. And he says Latu is you could tell why he was drafted where he was drafted, and that he's been playing very well, and he doesn't make the same mistakes twice. And that's something that you really want to hear about a rookie, and that he's really proven himself to be one of those guys that he's real slippery. You can't get your hands on him. He just plays real well. And then there was Jelani Woods was talking about some of the battles that he's been having with the defense, because he says he's one of goes out there and he wants to prove to some of those guys, because I guess even while he was hurt, they were saying that he was in his pajamas sitting on the sidelines last year, and now he's finally coming to play. So I like the banter that's been going on between some of the camp battles, man, and really like what some of these guys been doing out there and going out there and competing. And even from A.D. Mitchell, there was a play where he beat somebody on defense and he let everybody know about it. And so I'm liking some of this chirping that everybody's doing. Michael Pittman Jr. is going to go at some people. I'm loving to hear some of these battles that we got going on, man.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's healthy competition as long as it doesn't, boil over into something worse than that. But yeah, that's what you want this time of year. You want guys to start hitting, start chirping, start getting that little competitiveness. They say iron sharpens iron. You don't want guys that are just, patting each other on the back. Hey, good try, buddy. Like, no, let's go to war a little bit out there. Let's fight for it a little bit. That's good stuff. That's what you want.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely sounds like they are. Sounds like we've been getting a lot of that. So speaking of camp battles, man, we had this conversation a little bit earlier, but kind of just bringing it to the show. So we have, I would like to say 5. I'm gonna name them all, but we can kind of get that out there. But the reason the topic of conversation came up is because the Brock Bowers thing came back up again, and then some people were talking about it and whatnot, and then I kind of just threw it out there, and I was just like, some of the people that said, Bowers was a need thing is going to kind of die because Jelani Woods has been balling. So we have the tight end room, which is going to be a battle, and I don't know how many we keep. It could be 3 or 4, but we're definitely not keeping as many as we did last year. So we have Jelani Woods, we got Mo Alley Cox, we got Kylan Granson, Drew Ogletree, and Will Mallory. So we got a 5-man tight end. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was 5.
We got Pharaoh Brown too, but I don't expect him to make it.
I don't think he'll be around very long. But that's just my opinion there. But so we got that 5-man tight end battle. Who would be your 3 to 4? Who would you have making the roster? How do you think this battle is going to shake out?
Yeah, so ideally in a perfect world with everyone healthy, right? That's how we look at it. Jelani Woods, just purely on talent, size, and what he could bring to the table, he'd be our clear-cut number 1 guy. The only issues he's had so far is just staying on the field. So as long as he's healthy, he's the clear-cut number 1. Now look at Will Mallory for number 2. Had a surprisingly good rookie season for us last year. Maybe not the craziest, flashiest numbers, but when the situation called for him and we needed him to step up and do something, it seemed like every time he was able to answer that call. So those would be my top 2 guys. And then third, Kylan Granson. He's been the most consistent tight end for us. 1, because he stayed healthy. And 2, he just always seems to be able to make those third down grabs that you need from that guy. So the consistency and the reliability, he's on my roster for sure. If we had to keep a 4th, obviously it's between Mo and Ogletree. And I guess you just take whoever's the better blocker there. I don't really care to keep 4. I'd rather spend these roster spots on somebody else. But my top 3 for sure is Woods, Mallory, and Kylan Granson.
Yeah, man. So it's not my take, but from what I've heard and what I think about the coaching staff, I do think that we personally keep about 4 tight ends. And I think the 4 would be Jelani Woods because, like you said, I think this is the guy that should be able to do everything. He should be able to block the way you want him to block. And they asked him that question too. How's he been working on it as a blocker? Has he gotten better and whatnot? And he says that he's been working pretty much on all of that stuff. And he's been working with all the guys. All of them get along real good and just different things that they can learn to be better together. And so he's been working on that as well. But mostly, just trying to learn how to stay healthy as a pro to be able to continue to play every year. But that would be my number 1. I think this guy is an absolute
for sure
killer receiving threat. You can't guard him. You can't match up well with him. He's fast enough to get by most. This guy should be able to do it all. Then number 2, I think Mo Alley Cox. I know some people don't like it, but the coaching staff loves what this guy can do as a blocker. And we even seen he's sneaky good as a receiver on some plays. Obviously, his athleticism ain't on Jelani Woods' level. But the coaching staff loves him as a blocker, so I can see him really being one of those guys that's going to stick around. And then I have Drew Ogletree. I just think what he gives us is he's just there. He's reliable. Last year he made some really key plays for us, and it looks like Shane likes to use all these tight ends in multiple ways. And then lastly, number 2 would be Will Mallory for me. Just because I think this guy has all kind of potential upside if he continues to develop as well as a blocker. Think he can be really good as a receiver. He has some speed to him as well. So I think those would be the 4 that they keep. If Jelani Woods turns out to be who he is and what we think he can be, and if he can stay healthy, I do think we drop this roster down to 3. Kylan Granson would be the first odd man out in my opinion, which I also think is a tough decision. I mean,
Yeah,
I
at
think
that
that's the
point it
best part.
is.
I think that's the tough part when you got a roster. You got to make those tough decisions because Kylan Granson's a top 10 separator in this league. And so I think he'd be the odd man out. And then if we did get down to 3, my personal odd man out would be Mo Ali Cox. But I just think the
This
coaching
coaching
staff
staff,
really
yeah.
loves that guy. So the first 2, in my opinion, would be Jelani Woods and Mo Ali Cox would be the 2 stay.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for sure for veteran leadership and what you bring to a team in that aspect. The only reason Mo Ali Cox didn't make my top 3 or 4 is just he's getting up there in age. Obviously, the athleticism is not on par with some of these younger guys. I think.
Price tag.
Yeah, and there's no reason to be paying this guy when he's really not producing on the level that his paycheck should demand, right? So I don't know. It doesn't line up to keep him around for much longer. And I'm appreciative, like I said, of his veteran leadership and like what he does for the team. And his blocking is obviously great, but it's just the ends don't really justify the means. If we're paying him and he's not producing, it's not a long-term success there.
For real. Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you. Let's move on to the next one. So our offensive line is mostly solidified. Obviously, left guard being Bernard Ryman, left guard being Quentin Nelson, center being Ryan Kelly, right guard being Will Fries, and then right tackle being Braden Smith. And pretty much the beginning of OTAs, we had all 22 starters back there. At OTAs. The only one we didn't have taking reps was Braden Smith, who was coming off some knee surgery, clearing up some of that stuff in the knee that was giving him some issues. I'm not sure who was replacing him, but I'm going to take a whim and say it was Freeland again, Blake Freeland. So, yeah, our starting 5 were pretty much being the same, but we did draft a couple guys. We drafted our guy out of Pittsburgh, and we drafted our guy out of Wisconsin.
Yep.
Now, do you see any position battles as far as Tanner Bortolini, Danny Pinter, Matt Goncalves? Do you see any of these guys being competition and putting any battles as far as to either Ryan Kelly, kind of getting up there in age with the contract situation, or Will Fries being at right guard? And I just named those 2 because I think the other 3 are solidified at their spot.
Right.
Yeah. Or even Braden Smith with his injuries as well.
Right. I'd say this year, probably not. I don't see either of those guys. I'll say 3 of those guys with Bortolini, Goncalves, and Freeland, who was really good as a substitute last year when he had to play. He really played his ass off. So all 3 of those guys, I think, are long-term guys for the Colts. I don't know if they threaten to start this year. I think we're in a situation, though, with drafting those guys that we can look at potentially letting Smith walk at the end of his contract, maybe letting Ryan Kelly walk at the end of his contract, depending on the level of pay you're getting from the guys behind him. And obviously, that's tough to say, given how good those guys are when they're healthy, when they're playing, which is most of the time, to be fair. This last season, Braden Smith, it was really his first time being consistently injured. So it wouldn't really be fair to say, oh, well, this guy's hurt all the time. It's time to replace him, get him out of here, whatever. When he's playing, he's a top 3 right tackle in the league, I think. So
according to PFF, we have the top 5 tackle duo in the league.
Yeah. So it's like these guys are performing. You know what I mean? Like it's. I love the depth that we have, and especially you worry about somebody goes down, those guys should be able to step in and play really well. So it's really up to them whether they threaten for a starting job. But I don't see that in year 1. No, I think maybe a year or 2 from now, we're looking at Bortolini, Goncalves, and Freeland potentially being starters, and that'd be really cool for them. But I don't see it quite yet, just with the guys we have.
Yeah, I just threw that one in there as a question just because I don't really see too many camp battles outside of tight end on the offense. Right. Just threw that one in there. I personally totally agree with what you said. I think our starting 5 is solidified unless Will Fries takes a step back again or something, or Braden Smith's injuries. Right. I really don't see how much playing time backups will likely get there.
Now, what's interesting with those guys, just as a final point on them, every single guy that we've drafted as an O lineman in the last 2 years, they've graded insanely on all athleticism charts, anything you could test them on, bench, movement, 40 drill, cone drill, everything. Like these guys are big and they can move. So it's not like you're old back in the day, just kind of big boy O linemen. These guys are freak athletes. And I think that will really play to the RPO offense that Shane Steichen wants to run for the next several years. So that could potentially be a thing if, as Ryan Kelly and Braden Smith and these guys start to get older, if they can't keep up athletically with what Anthony Richardson needs, then they might be under threat to lose their starting job. So it's just something to look out for in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think everything across that offensive line is literally just health and or future situations. We got a comment coming in here from a new guy. Never seen this name here before. What's up, Damon? J2 Serious is saying here, the AR healthy narrative is played out. If the coach doesn't call a QB run on their own 30-yard line, then AR should stay healthy. I mean, I get what you're saying, but as far as it being played out, I mean, it's played out for us as Colts fans, but for every other team or every other divisional rivals, I'll tell you right now, I'm in a group chat with a bunch of people, and they love to throw out the AR injury thing. I really, in my opinion, I call it their saving grace, because outside of that, there's really not much argument on it. I mean,
yeah, you can't question his talent.
I think AR might be the top QB in this division if he stays healthy. So, I mean, it might be played out for us because we're tired of hearing it, but all of us really know that we got to keep him on the field for us to be able to get where we're going. As for the run call there by Coach Steichen, I think that's on AR to make the decision to get down sooner. So I feel where you're coming from, but I think, AR's got to prove it, and he's got to protect himself just a little bit better as far as play calls.
Just as far as the play call, though, I mean, this is the type of offense that plays to AR strengths. So I understand what you're saying about not taking that risk, but if we're not taking that risk, what was the point of even taking Anthony Richardson? Like, this is his play style, is RPOs, QB runs, getting out when he has to and making a play. That's what he does best. So if we're not playing to his strengths, there was no point in taking him at all. So I understand what you're saying. I have to disagree, man. Like that's why we have him here, is to make those plays.
He said in his press conference too, post the injury, I'm not changing my play style.
Yeah,
I'm changing. I will change how smart I'm being and situational awareness. But if y'all hit the nail on the head, that's the bottom line.
It's a physical game, like he said. It's like cutting the teeth and the claws off a lion. Yeah, you take those away. What do you got?
Yeah,
you just got a big body. But yeah, moving on to the next one. Receiving room battle. I mean, obviously, we don't have too much competition between the one. My bad. I didn't mean to put quotes around that one. We know who the one is. The two. We'll put quotes around that one. The two. There's no competition there being between Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs. I think we know those two are locked in and what they do. And then our other room being who's going to solidify themselves as the number 3 or /2, whichever you guys out there would like to call it. So we got this camp battle between A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce being that number 2-3 guy. So I love this room battle personally. I also think Anthony Gold, personally, in my opinion, is going to be in that part of the room battle. I don't know how slot's going to work out between Doolin and Anthony Gold, but I know Anthony Gold played a majority of his snaps at receiver on the outside. So right. I don't see him as the slot receiver just because he's small. But Damien, you look like you're still taking a bite there, so I'm going to jump to Trev first real quick, man. What are you excited about in this receiving room battle? What are you looking forward to most? And who would you say is your 1, 2, and 3? Obviously, I'm going to exclude Josh Downs there because he is our slot guy.
Okay.
That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, these are good problems to have, right? When you're looking at, hey, who might be the odd man out here because we have too many weapons, right? So already it's coming from a good place that we're even having to look at, because last year we didn't even have to consider who our top guys were. It was Pittman and everybody else, right? As far as What's that?
Appreciate you, Jay. Appreciate you loving the channel. We appreciate you, man. We it ain't nothing against you. Just giving our opinion back to yours. So yeah, appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share. Appreciate you. We're on Twitter and everything else. So yeah, appreciate you, man. But yeah, my bad.
Just no, you good. As far as top three, man, I mean Pittman is clear, far and away the number one guy. Absolute weapon. The league, the media doesn't talk about him enough. This guy's crazy. He's that good. Secondly, I do think Adonai Mitchell is ready to take that spot, ready to take that job from whoever. He's coming in with a chip on his shoulder, like I said earlier, and I expect him to go crazy with it. And then thirdly, if we're excluding the slot guys, I do think Alec Pierce still has that over a guy like Anthony Gold, but also because I think Anthony Gold's focus, at least this rookie year, is going to be as a return man because he's such a weapon back there. So it's not necessarily a slight on Gold, but Pierce does have the experience on him. And then he's got that specialty on the outside, whereas Gold is going to be an absolute weapon in the return game. So it's kind of just fitting everyone to where they can best perform.
For sure. So yeah, Damon, man, it's good to have you in here, man. You missed the topic, but as you can see in the bottom left corner, his name down there is Cut Mo. we already had that conversation about the tight end room. But real quick, before you jump into the receiver answer, and why don't you real quick give us your how many tight ends you keeping this year, and which ones?
We did this about a month ago, didn't we?
I mean, we had a little bit of discussion about it. Obviously, it might get a little repetitive. We probably got to do it one more time once we do roster cuts. But yeah.
Oh man!
So the 5 are Jelani Woods, who everybody's saying he's lighting it up at camp right now. He's been chirping at the defense. Mo Alley Cox, Drew Ogletree, Kylan Granson, and the second-year tight end Will Mallory.
But Ogletree hurts him bad.
Hurts who?
He's a dog.
No. Who does he hurt?
I'm saying like he's hurt him bad. You know what I mean? Like he's a pretty solid tight end. I just think that he's been banged up too. Woods has to show me something and stay healthy. Yeah. I'm not leaving that. And I know everybody gets mad at me all the time. Like, oh, you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, bro, he's not playing a year and a half. Year and a half removed. Camp is one thing, bro. I'm talking about we're seeing contact, getting hit, getting up, walking around. Like, I just have to see that out of a 4th-round tight end for me to sit here and be like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doubting him. Like, I don't want to be taken the wrong way, but I've always kind of been on the other side, you know, of the fence with that. I would say Granson, Mallory. I'll put Woods in there right now. I will, but he's got to show me something because I feel like a couple of our tight end group in general is just kind of like lightning in a bottle whenever it's called upon. So that's where I'm at with it, man. I'm not gonna change my opinion there until I see him play.
For sure. All right, we'll jump into this receiver room competition. Who's your 1, 2, and 3? Obviously, Scooting Downs out of there just because he's confirmed to be our slot guy. If you want to put in that slot conversation,
you could.
But how you see that? What are you excited for?
80 being number 3 probably. And I'll tell you what, I'm getting like freakish similar feel to like a CeeDee Lamb when I'm seeing him on the field. Body, build, speed, hands, like, dude, like identical to CeeDee is what it looks like to me. And that is the kind of receiver that we have been missing over the last 5, 6, 7 years. So I think he's going to benefit in that really well. I'm still going to keep Pierce as that deep threat 4 guy. You line him up 4 verticals, he gets you out there. But I feel like whenever you have guys with a skill set of 1, 2, and 3, like we don't need the duplicity of having AP run a 5-yard in, 10-yard curl. You know what I mean? That's when we need
strength.
We need to play him to his strength if we're going to have this kind of room. So that's how I'll leave it.
Yeah, man. I like both of you guys' answers there. But you know, it's a real like interesting thing because, you know, we all think of Pierce being the deep speed guy, but Mitchell's running a 4.3.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
He is the fastest player on this offense, which is crazy to think. You you got Michael Pittman Jr. running a 4.5. You got Downs running a high 4.4. You got Pierce running a 4.4. You got JT running a 4.4. You got your quarterback running a goddamn 4.4. And then you come in with that 4.3 from Mitchell. I mean, this is ridiculous. The speed
track shoes on,
there. Yeah. But as for me, man, we were having this conversation a little bit earlier. I think that Pittman could be, or not Pittman, Pierce could be used in a very similar role to Michael Pittman Jr. as far as what he's going to be doing from his position, and I just think that, like, instead of trying to use him, like Damon said, we don't necessarily need him to. We got to use him to his strengths, and not necessarily using him to the in routes and the curls and stuff like that. I think that's something that could work in his favor. That if he were to develop those routes, that he could be used more. Because I think in the situation that happened last year, when you got a Mitchell out there running a 4.3, you bring in an Anthony Gold who has that short speed of a 1.5 split to where he's getting behind a defender. Pierce may phase himself out if he's only playing to his strengths and playing that deep ball. So, I just think that it'd be Pittman being the 1, Mitchell being the 2. I think Gold could come in there behind. I don't want to say he would take over where Pierce would be. I think Pierce would still be the 3. But I think Gold would kind of split between slot and playing that number 4 possible receiver, and then also Doolin in there battling for that backup slot as well.
That is an interesting spot too. A lot of people are forgetting we got Ashton Doolin back healthy. Like, that guy, he's proved this show wrong. He's proved a lot of people wrong. If you guys haven't listened to the show for the last several years as we've been operating, I feel like every year we did roster cuts or preseason cuts
Doolin
going into the season. Ashton Doolin was always the guy we were cutting. And then about 2 years ago when he was healthy, or the last time he was healthy, he just shut us all up. He just went out there and balled, had several hundred yards, a couple touchdowns. Like, he did what he had to do to earn his place. And a lot of people are forgetting that he's still in there competing. So I fully expect, as long as he's back to form and is shaking off this injury, fully back 100%, he's going to take somebody's yard. He's going to give somebody some problems and get out there and make some plays for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, J2 Series also saying, AD is the type of receiver that the Colts have been needing. Yeah, absolutely, man. I really don't see too much trouble from this offense. I really don't, personally. I think everything when it comes to question is where we're going to head to next. How you guys see this cornerback room shaking out, man? We get Dallas Flowers back. We get Juju Brents back. He also knows that he needs to prove he can stay healthy. We got Jalen Jones in that room. We get Dallas Flowers back. We also added Micah Abraham to that room.
Sure.
And then we also added Jalen, another Jalen in there.
Is it Simpson?
Yeah, Jalen Simpson, who also, I'm pretty sure he was still listed at cornerback, but it might be free safety. So where are you guys at with the cornerback room? How do you see in that? How are you guys seeing that shakeout, and who are you most excited for?
Yeah, I'll start, man. I'm most excited about Jalen Jones. Last year against the Raiders, he showed us he could be that man coverage guy that we desperately been needing, that we really haven't had other than Stephon Gilmore for that stretch that he was here. He was lockup when he was put in the position to do so. So I'm really excited about Jalen Jones, and then I'm still optimistic about Juju Brents. I think he showed enough flashes that he could be a guy. I know fans were frustrated with him last game of the season, did not play well, and then obviously he was not healthy for a lot of the season. So he's not the perfect prospect, but with this guy's frame, his athleticism, and the flashes he has shown, there's reason to be optimistic about him going into year 2. Beyond that, man, there's just question marks. There's guys that haven't even touched an NFL field or haven't been able to stay healthy. It's a lot of potential, I guess, if you want to be a glass half full kind of guy, but really a lot of question marks is what we're looking at.
Where are you at with Flowers in that room?
I think still a question mark, right? He showed flashes that he could be really good as well, but he had his own injury bugs, his own problems that he couldn't stay on the field with. So as much as I'd love to be optimistic, like no, that guy for sure is going to be on the field and tipping balls and catching interceptions and everything. I'm not positive on that. I'm not super sure about it yet. So it's a whole lot of uncertainty until they can get out there and prove it. And then also, real quick, just the lack of a solidified safety behind them for help is also what's kind of I don't want to say worrying. I'm still optimistic about everyone we're bringing in, but again, just a question mark. Like we don't know who's going to fill that role and how that communication is going to work. So
yeah, we're gonna jump.
We'll see.
Next, Damon, where are you at on the cornerback room? How do you see it shaking out, and who are you excited for?
I think it's gonna continue to be a weak spot in our defense and our team moving into the offseason unless we make some sort of veteran signing. Because it's going to be like what it was, I would say, the second half of last year where it felt like Kenny Moore was on an island and was having to be a one-man show. I mean, in Juju, in the games that he played when he gave up 150 yards at half, they would have to split Kenny out wide. And then we get killed over the middle. It's kind of a worry of mine. Jalen Jones, like I think all of us here, is probably the guy that we're most excited to see take a step forward just because you saw him respond to any mistakes he made, and his game grew as the season went on. But for lack of a better words, not having a strong, I would say safety behind them. Communication was quote unquote, Gus Bradley said, the biggest issue of that secondary last year. I just don't see from what we currently have at the moment. I don't understand how that would improve, I guess you can say, into this year.
Yeah, man. As for me, man, I see the opposite of what you guys have saw. I obviously think there's a lot of question marks in the room. Obviously, we need guys like Juju to stay healthy, but the common misconception here is that Juju has played bad. Juju was graded as one of the highest rated man-to-man corners in the league to close out the season, and the job that
really
he
that
did
Texans game.
I mean, but that wasn't on him. That was on the free safety.
Talking about when he took a knee.
that was the free safety.
He took a knee and said
that didn't cover his guy. He was the one that ended up getting lost in that zone there. But so yeah, like I said, man, that's a different play. But as far as man-to-man goes, he played a great game. He played against Devontae Adams, and he had a lot of those plays. As for Jalen Jones as well, I'd like to see what this guy can do. As for getting Dallas Flowers back, I think there's some upside there to have that kind of veteran presence in there. And, I mean, even if he can come back and play at some point, we'll see how it goes. I personally would still like a veteran there, but I think as much as there's question marks, I think the thing that we're missing here is the year two upside. We can't think that every player isn't going to get better or there isn't room for improvement. What those guys went through last year is kind of like what we saw from Will Fries and Blake Freeland, getting thrown to the wolves and being in the fire and seeing how
Myles Garrett
go. Exactly. So it's like as much as we know those guys are question marks, I'm going to look at it the other way just because of the fact that once you play those reps and you see how things are going, obviously what you guys have stated about safety we'll get to in a second here. But I just think that when you know how you're supposed to play and what's supposed to be behind you, obviously Juju missing a lot of that and then coming in and having to play. And then obviously we have the meltdown versus Houston on that play. And so things like that you don't want to see. But I still think as much as people wants to hate on our room and see how it goes, when you have that year one, why can everybody else improve on their years? It's kind of like going back to that Alec Pierce situation where everybody wants to crap on him. And, you look at I'm blanking on his name. Houston Texans receiver who just got paid.
Nico Collins.
210
yards.
Yeah, bro. He has his first 3 years are like 300 yards, 400 yards, 400 yards, boom, get paid. So, it's like I hate that everybody puts down our room and can't think for the fact that why can't your guys get better? So that's where I'm at with that. And again, like I said, Juju graded out as the top man-to-man corner. Obviously, we're not the biggest man-to-man team, but as Gus Bradley needs to start figuring out, you got to start playing to people's strengths on your team, the weaknesses of quarterbacks on other teams and other players that are out there. So I just think, I like the upside of what we have. Obviously, I think we still need some veteran presence there. And we got some improvement. But I think, going into year 2, guys can work on what they didn't work on last year. So that's where I'm at.
I don't want to sound like a downer either. Like they showed enough flashes, especially if you go back and look at the Raiders game. To me, that was our cornerback's best game, was playing against Devontae Adams and them against Las Vegas. There is room to be optimistic. It's just not having a big enough sample size and not having a full season of being like, these guys were graded very highly all season or stayed healthy all season. That's where the concern lies. But absolutely, there's reason to believe that we should definitely be better than we were last year, because the bar is pretty low for that position group last year.
I agree, and I think what worries me is that what worries me the most is our potential to be a great team.
Yeah,
and that being a nail in the foot is
having a massive hole.
That is what that reminds me of the Bills had that problem for the last 5 years. You know what I mean? I mean, Kansas City, until they got L'Jarius Sneed, was a revolving door back there. What's crazy is if we sat here and started naming off receivers that torched us last year, I felt like we always did a good job containing a number 1, but then you got the number 2, number 3, number 4 option that ends up going for 150, 200 on us.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I hate why people write off Alec Pierce. Because I'm like, why can't we have that number 4 that can do that? Why
walk in and have a crazy game? Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, Damon, but it's just one of those things where I'm like,
game?
Yeah, I'm like, just why do we have to always be the team that cuts off one of our guys from being one of those guys? I forgot to state what I was excited for, though, but I'm excited for Juju Brents personally. I think him getting a full offseason and being able to show his potential and his talent and stuff, I think he's really going to show out this year. I think he's got a real good chance. A second player that I'm excited for in that room is Micah Abraham. I don't know how much he'll play. I don't know if we'll really see him that much, but I just really like what this guy brings, man. This guy had like 12 to like 13 interceptions in college. He guy just gets his hands on the football. So, I mean, I don't know how much we'll see him play, but I just really think he has some solid potential there. Absolutely. But let's move on to this next one. I do want to jump into this one first because I know you guys had your kind of questions about the cornerback room, but I'm going to jump on this one because my question is the safety room. Obviously, I think a strong safety, I think we're pretty set at strong safety. Obviously, Nick Cross has had his ups and down woes, but our starter is Julian Blackmon, who I think will be very solid with. Now, moving over into our free safety room, which Trev can account back to because you were high on it just like I was. But I was very high on this safety room being Nick Cross and Rodney Thomas. I thought this was going to bring us back to the days of Antoine Bethea and Bob Sanders, man. And it just stunk.
Yep.
Outside of Julian Blackmon, it just stuck. So, and like right now, as I look at it, man, I don't know what is up with Rodney Thomas and Nick Cross. Is there issues with communications, the blown plays that they end up having? Our free safety room right now is Rodney Thomas, and then a guy that's coming off an ACL tear, and Daniel Scott puts us back in like we're walking out with the free safety room being that way. So I'm hoping Jalen Simpson could possibly be that free safety because that's who I think could be really good back there for us. I don't really know how that's going to shake out. So I know you guys thought the cornerback room was probably something to work on. I think we were just obviously youthful, inexperienced there, had a lot of injuries. But I think right now, our free safety room, that is where I'm worried. That's where I want the veteran to come in.
I regress.
And fix
our secondary, our DB group is our weak spot.
As a whole, man.
Yeah. I tell you right now, I'm a lot more confident in that cornerback room than that free safety room.
I think the issue is too, like, barring any signing that we make before the season, which I mean, who knows, right? Who knows what to expect? But if we haven't made it yet, we've already started camps and everything. We can assume we're probably not signing anyone else. but that's neither here nor there. Based on the guys we have right now, Rodney Thomas is our starting free safety going into the season. Now, a lot of people hear that and they want to exit off the podcast and run away and just, not good, right? Let me bring you back to earth for a minute, because as a 7th round pick, first year, great. Showed playmaking skills, ability to get to the ball. Yeah. Everything.
I thought bro was going to be a pro.
I know.
Player.
Look like Bethea, right? So everything as an individual, he did great. Now, we look at his sophomore season last year when he was asked to kind of step up and communicate and be more of a leader back there and have that trust and that chemistry with the cornerback room, and it all fell apart. Did not work out at all. And he got thrashed all year for it, right? So I guess what I'm circling back to is I know how it sounds, but I don't want to give up on Rodney Thomas yet.
Why do we have
also,
to give up
we
on
don't
him?
have the option to.
I agree.
We don't have the option.
I agree. Why do we have to give up on him?
Yeah, I don't want to give up on him because, one, it can't get much worse than it was last year as far as his communication with the cornerbacks and his placement, everything. Like, we all know they got torched all year, and he was an easy target. But he has the individual skill. That's what I keep coming back to. So if he can get coached up and he can work on his positioning and build that communication, that trust with the cornerbacks, I know that's a lot of ifs and a lot of stuff to hope for, but that's where we're at. We don't have anybody else right now. So we have to hope that he's able to build that over this offseason going into this year.
See, that's my thing though. I think Rodney Thomas is ultimately talented. I think he's a ball hawk. I think the guy can play. But the two plays that give me the problem is just like Damon was talking about with Juju, but was on Rodney Thomas, was the Nico Collins play in Houston. And then you go back and you look at the play between the Rams.
New Orleans Saints too, bro. You're missing that one.
That one too, but I want to go back specifically to the Rams game where Kenny Moore is telling him, you have Puka Nacua. And him not, I don't know if he heard, I don't know, what it is when he gets on the field that he's, other players talk to him, he can't hear it. He got his earmuffs on inside of his helmet. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like there's always that communication when him or Nick Cross is on the field, it becomes an issue. So I appreciate what you said there, Trev, because it does go back to remind you that this guy is talented. He can play on the field.
That's what's so frustrating.
Where's the mental block where he can't get it done?
We kind of have to hope that it was just a sophomore slump, And,
a 7th round pick, like you said, Trev.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, 7th round pick outperformed
from a small school,
from Yale, right? Like he's
Yale or Duke. It was like something like that. Yeah.
So I guess we have that going. He's a smart guy, He's a smart guy. So hopefully he can figure this out. It does kind of suck to be in the position of we don't have anyone else, so we have to believe in him. But even if we weren't in that situation, I still believe in Rodney Thomas. Again, he showed us so much as a ball hawking dude. We just have to figure out that there's so much youth and inexperience. The guy's only 21, 22 years old. He's not old. All the cornerbacks are under 24. The oldest one's probably 24, 25, other than Kenny. So there's a lot of inexperience in that room. So it's kind of understandable that there's these issues. But this is where we look at the coaching staff, where we look at Gus Bradley and be like, hey, figure this shit out, man, because we have individual talents, but we have to find that way to bridge the gap and make them communicate and work together, because that secondary is a full team game.
For real. You had anything else on that, Damon?
I would just be repeating. I'd be repeating the same statements. You know what I mean? I think we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, I think the whole picture point here is we need to see the upside from these guys.
Yeah,
I think we all think that a lot of these guys are talented
to
play, but we need to see the upside. We got to see you put it together.
Yeah, I do want to touch on too on that free safety position. We have seen some good stuff out of Daniel Scott, who previously I think it was kind of assumed that he might just be a special teams player, but with what he's shown, I wouldn't be surprised to see him rotate in and get a handful of snaps, if not more, maybe work his way into the rotation. We'll see with that though.
Yeah, I want to like Daniel Scott really bad, but it's kind of like how you guys mentioned about our cornerback room, but it's can we really put our faith in a guy 7th round pick coming off an ACL tear who hasn't even touched the field in the NFL? So
that's
where my worry comes in with him. So I hear you on it. Like the camp stuff has been great. I think that's all fine and good, but it's like I'd be pissed if I did it all over again. What I did with Rodney Thomas, and then we go into the season.
This is the guy.
First play of the game, 80-yard touchdown.
I fully expect if we do see Daniel Scott work his way into the rotation, that it's probably not until mid-season or later in the year. Maybe somebody's banged up, maybe he gets his chance, and then what he does with it, we'll see.
We just need these guys to show us what they got, man.
That's a Ballard guy for sure too. I mean, Ballard references him all the time. Anytime someone asks him,
he's big on him.
Anytime anybody asks him about the secondary, as his immediate answer, "Oh, don't forget about him. Don't forget about him." So maybe
come on, Ballard. We hope you're right.
He gives me a Kari Willis kind of vibe. You know what I mean? He was a B+ safety in college, all conference honors. So we have never seen him play before ever.
Another question mark.
Like literally, I think it was like an optional work. It wasn't like a team workout or something crazy like that, or OTAs. It wasn't camp.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I feel like
that's all we got
to depend on a 7th round pick coming off an ACL, or I said 7th. He's a 5th round pick.
I think he's 5th round.
5th round pick. So, but yeah, I mean, I just want to see it, man. I want to see these guys. I want to see their talent show up, man. And it's like because I think we got a lot of potential in that secondary, but we haven't got to see it be completed, and that's tough in the NFL because people lose their job that way. But let's jump to the next room. Let's jump on down into the linebacker room. There obviously isn't too much conversation here. We know who the starters are, being Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed. But I'll let you guys go after me real quick. Just want to put one out there. But I am really, really excited about Jay Carlisle's. I think this guy's going to be really good for us. I think he's going to be a great third down linebacker. I don't know how we're going to play him either nickel linebacker, nickel corner. I don't know how we're going to figure that out with him. But I think this guy, he's big, he's rangy. He gives me some real Cam Chancellor vibes with better hands. I'm excited about him in that room. Obviously, our starters I'm really excited about, but that's just different. But as far as a guy that we haven't seen yet, I'm excited about Jay Carlisle.
Yeah, I think he could step right into the role that Ronnie Harrison played for us last year. I believe we're bringing Harrison back, if I'm not mistaken.
We are.
But, yeah, it doesn't hurt to have two guys that can do the same thing, obviously. I do think we get more snaps out of Olabi. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Alube. He showed us a couple really good flashes last year. Didn't see a ton of him, but when we did, we're like, man, this guy can hit, gets downfield really quick. And then I talked about him a little bit earlier, but I really want to see Grant Stewart get those kind of snaps this year because I expect. Yeah, I like the way that dude cracks people, man. I don't know how he is in coverage. We haven't even seen. He's been a special teamer to this point, but that's kind of been the natural progression for a lot of our linebackers. Just start on special teams and then work your way in to get defensive snaps.
Seems like the three positions we don't really have to worry about too much with Ballard is offensive line, running back, and linebacker.
Yeah, they're covered, dude.
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
Who I'm most excited for in the room?
Yeah, in that linebacker room.
I could see EJ Speed being a Pro Bowler this year.
Yeah, I got a big year out of EJ Speed.
And I know Matt has touched on it. You have touched on it, DeMarco. If he can just cut the 3rd and 15 penalties.
Which is crazy to even have to say.
Come on, man.
He's great in coverage because he's athletic and he's got corner speed.
Fast.
And his most underrated thing is his TFL game.
Yeah.
He is criminally underrated in the backfield. You know what I mean? Because of speed, and he's put on size as well. So I think we got a big year.
Those big plays that could have happened in Tennessee game when Derrick Henry was in there. EJ was the guy stopping him.
Yeah.
And so Alubi, I mean, he's going to end up making his way, you know what I mean, I think to be a very slittable backup, bearing any injury to that group. He did play very well. Him and Grant Stewart were like all pros in the preseason last year at the linebacker position.
Killers.
I mean, Zaire, I don't think we need to touch on him. You know, he's one of the best players on our defense. The quarterback of our defense, may you say.
He's the man.
So he is. And then, you know, like the athletic guys we got back there, you know, with Harrison Jr. and then goodness.
Carlisle.
So, no, I'm excited about this group. I mean, it's just been nice for that not to be a blemish, but I think that's what I'm going to see. I see EJ taking a huge step forward here and
I like it.
rightfully getting a payday.
Yes,
Hopefully with
sir.
us, but we'll see.
Hopefully with us.
Yeah, and fuck you, PFF, for not having Zaire Franklin in the top 32.
Yeah, bullshit.
I'm irritated by that, bro. I really am.
It's like
out of 32, you can name me 32 linebackers better than Zaire Franklin. Stop playing with me.
It's like Roy Hibbert, man. Y'all motherfuckers don't watch us play.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
But yeah, let's move on down probably to our strongest room on this entire room. There's a whole lot to be excited about. You can name anybody from a starter to a backup. I think there's pretty solidification all across this room. How do you guys see this D line shaking out, and who are you most excited for? As a matter of fact, before y'all start anything, name your starting four and then go into who you're excited about and shaking out.
Man, I got Samson Ebukam, obviously Buck and Grove. It's hard with our edges because we rotate them so much. I want to say Latu, but obviously Kwity Paye is still there as well. So
I gotta say Latu.
I'm gonna say Latu as well. But I mean, we rotate those guys so much. It's hard to say like a starting four. You know what I mean? But just for like in my brain, top four, yeah, Latu.
All right. So how y'all seeing the rest of it shake out as far as D line goes? You have Kwity, you got Tyquan Lewis, you got
Raekwon
Davis, you got what was 94 from last year? We re-signed him. What was his name?
We got a couple with really hard names.
It's a few back there, man.
Yeah. What happened with
We got Dio Odangbo too.
Yeah.
What happened to Adebore?
Couldn't tell you.
He's still on the team as well. So is Eric Johnson, and so is it was one other one. I mean, there's Taven Bryan.
Yeah.
Who we were signed. Yeah, we were signing him again for another 1-year deal.
There's one more young fellow who I thought it was going to be our D tackle duo. I thought it was going to be Eric Johnson, another rookie. But he's still there. They interviewed him. I mean, it's just one of those things where we're still looking for him to develop. Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, we saw last year when Grover got suspended, it was night and day, right? The difference between that D line, specifically the D tackles. So I think that might be a big reason why we brought in Raekwon Davis. Obviously, his numbers aren't like the craziest numbers to look at, but you look at that dude's size. I mean, Buckner's going to handle the tackles for loss, the sacks, like whatever. You just need someone to plug that hole there. And a guy that big, I want to say he's like 6'6", 6'7", 300-something pounds. Like, this guy's a massive freak athlete, just like Ballard Love. So I think he'll be a sneakily good kind of backup for us that rotates in whenever we need him to. But kind of an under-the-radar signing that people didn't really pay much attention to that could end up being really beneficial for us.
Before you go real quick, Damon, I just want to point out DeForest Buckner was 8th in double team rate. Grover Stewart was in pass pro. His double team rate was 50%. And then we add Raekwon Davis, who was 4th in D tackle pressure rate overall. So adding that to our room. Go ahead.
No, I mean, and you know, the defensive tackle and 3 tech stats. I mean, like defensive ends is where you're going to see the sexy stats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that pressure rate and being able to, you know, capitalize off that and let your edges eat too. So I think that's probably the best. I mean, that is probably the best group as far as depth, which we needed. I think that we really brought it this year. It is.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
I'd say we have the best defensive tackles as far as 4 or 5 guys deep in the league, in my opinion. I mean, the top 2, without question, some of the best dudes. And then Raekwon, solid backup. Eric Johnson, solid backup. Taven Bryan, solid backup. They're all good at their own things, but that's a crazy good group, man.
Yeah, I think we definitely have one of the top front sevens in the league. I do think it was very important because, as Trev said that we have very good backups. The problem is they were good at what they were really good at.
Yeah.
So sometimes when DeForest Buckner and Grover were off the field, sometimes some guys were really good at pass rush, and sometimes they were really terrible at run stop.
Exactly.
And they just get
I
sliced
think
through.
that's the really thing that the thing that we get with Raekwon Davis is going to be great because of the fact that he is a big body to be able to stay in there and handle people in the run. He can also get after the rusher a little bit, the passer a little bit. And then we also got Grover who wants to get up his sack numbers. So, in my opinion, when you have a Dio Dangbo, who Dave Stewart saying here that he thinks is going to have a big year, and then you also got a Kwity Paye, you got a Samson Ebukam, and then you add one of the highest pressure rate guys out of college, along with his 22.5 sacks out of college, which is on the along the lines of a Bosa brother and a Watt brother, which is absolutely insane. So if I was to do my starting four, it'd be Samson, obviously Big Grove, Buck in there, and then the fourth guy would be Kwity Paye. I would have him as my starter. And the thing is, I had this debate with somebody on Twitter because at first I was like, I think Latu would be the starter, and we kind of went back and forth and whatnot. And I think he easily could be the starter. But the thing is, for me, I don't really care if he's a starter. I want him to be the closer.
Yeah.
That's where I want
Well said.
That's where I want him to be. I want him to be the guy in the fourth quarter that's coming in, put the quarterback on his ass and in the game for us like we should. So that's where I'm at with that. And that's who I'm so goddamn excited to see, man. I know we got some great guys in that room, and I love each and every one of them. I actually came up with a nickname for all the guys that were hanging out. So it was Tyquan Lewis, Raekwon Davis, Big Grove, and Buck. I called them the Four Horsemen.
I like it.
That's the nickname
like
that
it.
I came up with them. And I think there's just so much to be excited about across that D-line room. But I am absolutely ecstatic to see Laiatu Latu come in. And just the guys, just imagine who he's getting to go against every day in practice. They played this guy at edge, linebacker, 3 technique, the 1 technique. You can put Laiatu wherever you want to. And if he does in practice, he's going to get to go against Ryman and Smith, some of the top tackles in the league. He's going to get to go against, in my opinion, the second best, or I'll say the best center in the goddamn league now that Jason Kelsey is going, and Ryan Kelly. And then you got Quentin Nelson over there at left guard, one of the top guards in the league. So he's gonna have a shit ton to go against. I think that Laiatu Latu is gonna have a ton to work against to see what he's gonna come out and go against. But I think I'm absolutely excited for him because I think he can be the defensive player of the year. So rookie. Rookie defensive player of the year.
When you look at these edge rushers too, and I agree with everything you said, but when you look at these edge rushers, what gets me excited is every single one of them is coming in the year with something to prove. All right, you got Samson Ebukam, who played really well in San Francisco, but he was second, third fiddle. Got over here, kind of same thing. Like he wants to prove he can be the guy, and he's worth the money we gave him. Kwity Paye is in a prove it year. Are we going to pay him and keep him around? Or are we going to let him walk into free agency and someone else is going to pay? He's earning his check right now. Dio Dangbo, he's proven last year wasn't a fluke. And what the flashes we saw, because we saw him start to make that progression, is all for real. And he's ready to be a guy as well. Then you look at Laiatu Latu. He's got everything to prove, right? Proving why he was the first defensive player taken in the draft, why he can still be healthy and dominant, and why he's good to go. And then lastly, Tyquan Lewis, who has had his injury bugs in the past. Same thing. He wants to prove he can be the guy to step up, stay healthy, and dominate quarterbacks like we saw in the shorter frames that we had him for. Every single edge rusher we have, they ought to be coming to the year with a chip on their shoulder, ready to get after dudes. And that's just breeding grounds for competitive fire, dude. I love it. I love everything about it.
70 sacks.
Why not? Why not? Why not?
I need it, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about this D-line room, man. It's like you think about that game versus CJ Stroud. It's like even blitzing him. It's like
that was the next thing in my mouth.
It's just like, man, like to have this rotation that we have, the depth that we have, man. It should just be QB kill central to end games and in fourth quarters, man. I like the potential that we got. I just want it to be consistent. I don't want these games where we start having gaps where we're not really doing it. I think, we have enough rotation to where
guys should be fresh.
Laiatu shouldn't have to hit a rookie wall because he's not playing all the time. Kwity Paye is in a pay me year. He needs to go crazy. Samson, I think he's consistent. He's going to give us what he gives us. And then obviously, in my opinion, with what we're adding, and like I told you guys before with the double team rates, if you don't double team Buck or Grove, they are also going to eat. And DeForest Buckner has been getting double teamed to hell, even with injuries and playing through them. And also, if you can't double team him and you leave some of these edge rushers singled up, man, we got to take advantage, man. It got to be.
Yeah, we have the guys that can go and headhunt, bro. And even you look beyond all that, then if you somehow get by all those guys, you got EJ Speed waiting to shoot the gap. You got Kenny Moore waiting to collapse and hit somebody. Like, we have guys and we have the personnel to run a headhunting defense that can get after the quarterback. We just have to get it right.
And give our corners some chances to make some plays, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's got to be it, man. And then last one to jump into, man, was the third side of the ball. Just want to throw this one in there because I pointed it out to Trip earlier. I think with the new special team rules, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Anthony Goldman to be able to make some plays. He was one of the greatest kick returners and punt returners in college football. I think this will be a great piece for him. Obviously, for us to try and make some returns. I also hope on the other side that it doesn't become a loss for us because we were one of those teams that would give up a lot of big returns. But I hope our special teams coach Brian Mason is putting in some work to be able to free open some plays and be able to sneak out some touchdowns.
Yeah, look, I really think with the new kickoff rule, I think this is one of the things that the NFL has gotten right. And I think what you're going to see is not just so much returning and taking it, whatever. I think you're going to see special teams really become a side of the ball that matters a lot more, where you're drawing up plays in the return game. You're setting up blocks, all kinds of stuff. You have to with how it's organized now. So really look for a guy like Anthony Gold to make his name and make his money back there. And then defensively on the other side, I'd look for a guy like Grant Stewart that can shut that stuff down. I don't know. I'm really interested. Yeah, Dallas Flowers. Like anyone that's maybe a fringe guy on the offensive or defensive side of the ball, look for them to step up and make their money in the special teams, because I really think the league is going to it's going to have an emphasis on it moving forward with the rules they have right now. It's going to be really interesting to see how it evolves.
Yeah, they also said there's going to be a lot of like chess play kind of going on with this, because as well, just like if you look at the depth that we're going to have at offensive linemen, they said that some people may put speed to power on the field. You might put some faster guys on your defense. So if they go small lineup, we could put linemen out there. We got a couple backup. We got a couple backup athletes that can go out there and block. You block two guys and create that lane. All you got is a kicker down there, and if your kicker can't tackle, good luck. So I think there's a lot of good options.
A lot of strategy there, dude. It's going to be cool to watch what these special team coordinators come up with, and I think we'll be feeling lucky that we have a really good one in Mason. Guy came from Notre Dame, always been a really good special teams coordinator. So hopefully he gets us right, because I think that play is going to be really huge for a lot of teams, and I don't know if enough people are thinking about that yet.
Absolutely, bro. I can't wait to see how it all shakes out. But yeah, man. Appreciate everybody who came in here for the comments. Appreciate my guy Trev and Naaman who came through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate all the comments, keeping us busy. We're gonna hopefully try and get some scheduled predictions going for you guys soon. And shout out to the guys ZTV.
Shout out. Get your coffee mugs.
We got merch. But that'll do it for us tonight, folks. We appreciate everybody who came through.
Yes, sir. Go Colts.
Go Colts.
Second down, he fakes the Taylor, fires over the middle, completes. Pittman,